Lorgat, the former Cricket South Africa CEO, as well as Craig Murray, our reporter in Cape Town. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you and good morning.
To be here. Morning.
To you first. I mean, we have Dr. Jacques Fall now vacating his position as acting CEO. We have the president, Chris Nenzani, stepping down on Saturday. What's your views on the state of play in Cricket South Africa at the moment?
I presume when you said to you first, you were meaning me. I mean, it is a sad state of affairs, and I think we all keep on saying those words, but truly it is in bad shape, and it is just unacceptable that we are where we are. Not after the strong position cricket was back some years ago. I think you could track back to the 10 years that Gerald Majola led the organization. You look at the 4 or so years that I was there, we left it in a very, very healthy state. And I heard the minister speak of transformation a short while ago on your clip. Yes, there are serious challenges, but there was progress that was being made. And right now, I think we've just gone back so many years and we're in such bad shape that something seriously ought to be done.
Looking at it from outside of the organization, why would you say we are in bad shape, Harun?
I don't think you need any more evidence than that which is already on the table. Whether you talk the former players, I have no doubt the current players have serious concerns themselves. Whether you look at the financial state of affairs, whether you look at the morale across the entire organization, down to the last club level player, everybody is talking negatively about the sport. So there's no lack of evidence to see that we're in a bad space.
Craig Murray, is that correct? What are you hearing with regards to what conversations are being had with regards to Cricket South Africa, cricket in general in South Africa? We know what's been happening around the issue of transformation. We hear what the former Proteas wicketkeeper had to say, Tami Tsolakile, Lungi Ngidi, Black Lives Matter, all of this at play. What are you hearing?
Well, as Arun said, and I think most people who love cricket in South Africa are very concerned, you know, and Arun will know better than most. Besides all the problems, finances are so important. And I think when Arun was CEO, because he's an accountant and very good at what he does, and also because of the tours, you know, we had Australia, India, there must have been close to $1 billion or maybe 1.5 billion rand that were in the coffers. So Cricket South Africa, they were looking at a loss of 650 million. That was actually pushed up to $1 billion. So that would be the first thing to try and, you know, when there's no money and you run out of money, that would be the main concern at the moment. But I think it's quite clear all the problems that we need to try and come up with solutions very quickly in all departments. And I'm not sure. You don't normally want government to get involved in things like this, and government themselves don't have a good record with a lot of things that are happening, but maybe that would be a way to go.
Yeah. Just for context, Craig. Finish your thought, Craig. Finish your thought.
As someone who's been involved in cricket for a long time, I would ask Arun the question, you know, we're in such a mess that a guy who's been the CEO for the ICC, who's been the CEO for Cricket South Africa, who's been a convener, selector, we would need people like Arun right now, people who've been involved when things weren't perfect, but things are running a lot smoother than they were now. We need people with experience. I would ask Arun if his country need him or Cricket South Africa need him and the experience, whether he would be available to try and just rectify the ship and try and keep us, you know, that we don't go under. I don't know, Arun, would you be available?
Go ahead, Arun, answer the question.
That's placing me on the spot, but I think a while back I said I would not be available, and that was largely because I did not want to work with or support a board that I felt was not doing its job. It needed to take responsibility. Yesterday, the president resigned. There's a number of those previous directors who've left. I would find it difficult to refuse if the right people ask and wanted me to support and assist cricket in South Africa.
Right.
But clearly,
Right.
I would want to do it on terms that would be correct, simply because that's the best chance of success. And by correct, I mean...
What would be your terms? What would be your terms?
The Members' Council must stand up and be held responsible now. They must be counted. They must dissolve the board. I think they must look at what was missed at the time of the Nicholson recommendations. We probably put some of those recommendations on the back burner. We've probably paid the price now. So the Members' Council really need to look at itself, dissolve this board, place an interim group of people with the capabilities in place, because right now you've got an organization that is drowning. And when that happens, you want your best lifesavers to come out and save it. So it's quite simple. The Members' Council must make the proper appointments. It must hold the board responsible, and it must move on from that spot, from that space.
But Craig, can the process of finding a permanent CEO continue while the case against Tabang Moroe is still pending?
Well, I'm not, and even Arun would not be privy to that. It's a whole legal battle. That's another part of Cricket South Africa. I mean, Tabang Moroe was suspended in December 2019. So how that investigation has taken so long? He's been earning 300,000 rand a month, doing absolutely nothing. I would imagine that there should be enough evidence after all that time of investigation that to find him guilty or not guilty. His lawyers did come up with some little trump card when he was meant to appear last week that, they came up with something. But, Blaine, just as well, with the transformation in cricket, as much as so much needs to be done, we've heard all the pouring, there's been tears, Mackay and Tini, Ashwell Prince, Hashim Amla came out with a statement. There obviously needs to be a lot of changes that need to be done. But it's not only Cricket South Africa. We saw it with the rugby players now over the weekend. We have a problem in South Africa. The world is changing. We've got this pandemic, and it's not just cricket. It's rugby. It's systemic, institutionalized racism that still affects so much part of South Africa, our society, school, in the workplace. And, it's sad that we're in the situation, but maybe it's a good thing that it's rearing its head, that we can finally confront it and work towards having a better South Africa, not just winning a World Cup and all rejoicing for a couple of months. There are obviously deep-rooted problems in our society. Cricket is just one of those bywalks that it's happening, but it's obviously very much there. Black Lives Matter. We've seen people take the knee, and it's all about equality all around the world. But South Africa is the one country where it's been a problem. Farm murders are brought in, or it's a Marxist theory. It's just a smokescreen, because people want to keep the same. But the world's changing, and I'm hoping that South Africa will want to change as well.
Just put for us into context for the viewers, Craig, with regards to some of the utterances from former and current players with regards to racism in the sport, with regards to Black Lives Matter. What have people been saying?
Well, the players have obviously come out, and people have asked them, why have they come out now? Why didn't they come out earlier? But, it's a very complicated situation. It's not just it's a physical, it's a mental thing as well. You can't always put your finger right onto what is racism all about. It's also when South Africa came back after isolation and they came back into international cricket. These players had to go and play the game. They couldn't fight political battles. It's enough playing international sport. But you had to start somewhere. From where we started when we came back into readmission to where we are now. We've got a Mackay and Tini. We've got a Hashim Amla. We've got Ashwell Princes. We've got so many black players that have gone onto the world stage. They've got that experience. And, we don't have to stand back as black players, as South Africans. So they've got the experience. And the thing that I'm very positive about, a lot of the guys are now involved in coaching. They're involved. I know Ashel Prince is the coach of the Cobras. We've got Jeffrey Tiano. We've got Enoch. We've got Robin Peterson is with the assistant coach with the Warriors.
Yeah.
They've been in this. They know what's required. They're talking about a more indigenous culture. To have an indigenous culture, our cricket has been influenced by colonialism, by apartheid. We need to get our own indigenous culture, which obviously black Africans, the majority of the population's got a future a lot more. And I think we saw Rassie Erasmus do that during the World Cup and with black players. Instead of just window dressing, at the end of the day, you're dealing with human beings. If you show you've got confidence in them, you nurture them, you guide them, you really care about them, you'll be surprised and amazed what could happen in the future going forward.
And this is the question, Craig. I mean, people are asking, are we just paying lip service to the issue of transformation? Harun Lorgat, we've heard yesterday from Minister Nathi Mthethwa saying that government will not tolerate racism in the sport. But let's take you back to your tenure as CEO of Cricket South Africa. What did you do in order to rectify the situation, in order to transform the sport in terms of cricket?
Well, I'm a great believer in sustainable transformation will happen if you do it from the bottom up. And we had introduced a number of programs, and I guess the best of those were what we call the regional performance centers and hubs. Because it is true, and Craig alluded to it earlier on, that government is not doing its particular function as a state to build facilities and to provide schools and everywhere else the kind of resourcing that is required to develop the sport. So cricket attempted to do so by creating what we called hubs and attach them to clubs and to schools and create that as an access opportunity for kids around the country. And if you migrated from there, if you were spotted with having the talent to progress, you would have gone to a regional performance center and ultimately all the way through to the National Academy. We had just secured Standard Bank to fund those hubs, because each one of them cost you about 300,000-400,000 rands to create a hub with a coach and the resourcing necessary. And we were spreading across the country. Right now, I guess it might be scaled back because, as Craig also mentioned, the finances are in a parlous state. So I can't see them funding that, and we know Standard Bank has withdrawn. But we started, or I preferred, a strategy where you went from the bottom up. Of course, in all the other layers, we had introduced targets into the system so that you could force people. Because if truth be told, I think people that were responsible in the system, coaches, managers, and perhaps even boards at union level, were not accelerating transformation at the pace that it ought to have gone. So these targets were introduced. So there were a number of issues, and there's no doubt that transformation was a key pillar, and we had invested a lot of time, effort, and money into transforming the system. I would be the first to say that the progress is never fast enough, but I would honestly say that I was satisfied at the pace that we were going, because this cannot be fixed overnight. And cricket is one of those sports where you need a tremendous amount of facilities before you can provide access or fair access to those that want to go all the way up to the national level.
Let's say one of the days you feel good, you wake up one of the mornings and you want to answer Craig's question in terms of heading back to CSA, and what are some of the low-hanging fruits that you might say, you know what, we can knock this off in order to make a bigger impact in terms of transformation?
I think it will take me a few weeks to establish how bad the problems are. In my view, sitting from the outside, I think we've got issues at international level. We've been disregarded now, if not disrespected, by the international community because of our own poor performing attitudes in running the game. I don't think we feature at all internationally. Commercially, we must be in a space where corporate partners don't want to touch cricket. So if there's a low-hanging fruit, that will be something that we need to re-establish very quickly. provide the necessary confidence so the corporates can believe again and support cricket. I think the players is an area that one will need to deal with very quickly, because as you can see, the kind of statements being made by former players, I believe the current players have got a lot to say, but they're obviously guarded. They've got careers that they are still pursuing, but you need to get that out into the open as well. So maybe another low-hanging fruit would be, although Jacques Fall has already re-established some connection with Saka, I think you need to bring that back firmly onto the table. So I think those are three things I can think of immediately.
Right.
Of course, issues of racism, and the minister was quite correct that it simply cannot be tolerated. So that's something that you've got to deal with very quickly, because no doubt in my mind that can get out of hand and run away with you. It can cause issues. I mean, sometimes I sit back and I think, how in heaven's name are players going to enter a change room and feel comfortable with each other?
No, that's
that will be a challenge for every coach in this country.
Craig, last word to you. Sorry, Harun Lorgat, we're fast running out of time, but last word to you, Craig, with regards to what Harun was saying. You get a sense that there's hope in the locker room with regards to, we can get this right in terms of transformation?
I try and be the eternal optimist. We're in a mess at the moment, but sometimes out of adversity, you can really build and move forward. And the talent is there, when it comes to transformation, Enoch Inkwe, the Jeffrey Tianas, I suppose, when we came out of readmission, we never had all these black coaches. We never had black coaches at the provincial union. So that'll be one way for these players to really feel comfortable. I believe the talent is there. We need leadership. We need leadership from the board. We need leadership from the director of cricket, the coach. And, we've never won a World Cup. I mean, we saw now what happened with the Springboks and Rassie Russman. Springbok rugby was in a mess 2 years before he took over. So the talent is there. If the will and the desire is there and we get the right people, South Africa could probably finally go and win a World Cup, get the cricket together, and it could be done with a largely transformed team. That will be my dream. My dream would actually be, that there wouldn't even be quotas, that you would have the right people in the right place, and that you wouldn't have to discriminate against anyone, but that black African cricketers will be at the fore, and that you could go on and have success. But by transforming the game and doing it organically, but that might be a pie in the sky. If you have the right people and the right desire, anything is possible.
All right, Craig Murray, Harun Lorgat, great insight, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for your perspective. Be well.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a quick break. I'll get you a check on the headlines next.